Okay, hello and welcome back to Land Rover Toolbox videos once again. Radius arm bushes, we're going to do some changing of these today on this video. The bushes are supplied by Advanced Factors and links will be below to get through to their website. I'm also going to show you how to make a funky little tool to do the job with. Okay, so the original equipment will have rubber bushes in like so. They have a steel sleeve and they need to be pushed in with a press into the radius arms. However, what I need to make clear to you is there are two thicknesses of radius arm that I've found, and one is thicker than the other, so you have to be made aware of this when doing your bushes. And there are different types of bushes as well. You probably see that in the video. There's rubber and ones with extra sleeves in. Okay, so I have one here which is a thin one, and I'm not going to tell you which vehicle it came off. And the bush that I have here is a different size. Now it works out at about 5mm difference, and I'll just measure this one. It's around about 39 to 40mm thick. Okay. Now, if you see the bush at say 44, 45mm, it fits into the axle bracket here, so we don't have a problem. So the bush we have is one that's more packed with rubber. This gives a softer and more vague ride. So you can see here in the background we have one with an extra sleeve in. I think you'll find those on Range Rovers and Discoveries and later Defenders as well. I'll just make you aware at this point that having mismatched bushes and different thicknesses of radius arms may well affect the handling of your vehicle, so be very aware of this. Okay, some people may advise burning out your rubber bushes with a blowtorch, and you might find that you'll attract attention. This smoke from rubber bushes can be very acrid and black. So just be warned, it's not very good for your respiratory system. We'll do something a little bit more gentle here. Right, so this is an air hammer or an air chisel. You can get them from, well, almost anywhere. The fittings that you can get, I'm just going to show you this here. This is, I don't even know what this is called, but we make a copy of it which is really effective for taking bushes out. Basically, I've spent quite a few years in the heavy goods trade, and these trailers have rather larger suspension bushes, and the chisel that you've seen, I've used them on these quite often. Basically, you can split the casing to get it out of a radius arm or a suspension arm. Now, the theory behind it, what you're trying to do is pare off a piece of metal from the outer sleeve, and then basically you can collapse the outer sleeve inwards and then just tap it out. The same idea is with a hacksaw, which you can cut the inner sleeve out and then it should come out. However, with the hacksaw you need to take the rubber out, whereas this method you don't, and I'll show you this right now. So first of all, we're going to cut down a chisel, and basically what you're looking for is getting a V in it. So we're looking at something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do need the paring part of it. Okay, the chisel I'm using is quite thick. Right, so with a press you literally smash out the rubber, and it's just a matter of pushing that through until it rips out of the outer sleeve. Okay, well I've done both of these, and I will say that if the rubber is awkward to come out, it probably is because the bush doesn't need to be removed, whereas old bushes are saggy and the rubber's gone. And then it's just a matter of starting the outer sleeve off like this, bending it up and then smashing it through. And this will either cut the steel if the chisel's sharp, and it wasn't because I didn't sharpen until after I'd taken this bush out, but basically you can see what you're doing. Now I'm using quite a big hammer, and pop, where you go. That's one bush out, and you can see that it's clean out, and yep, everything's been knocked about, but basically that is how much I've had to cut out. Okay, and the rubber is still hanging on in the bush there, so that's quite effective, isn't it? It's this part that causes the damage or bends or tears the steel away. You may find that you've hit the radius arm metal. That's not a problem. Just file it so it hasn't got any rough edges and doesn't snag the bush when you push it in. Next thing to do is get yourself a flat wheel or even some sandpaper and remove all of the rust and any burrs that happens to be where the bush is going to be pushed into. This is quite important. Basically, you want a smooth push. The bush sleeve is an interference fit, however you don't want anything snagging it up as it's been pushed in. Okay, so with a press, I'm using a ramp here to stabilise this. There's nothing worse than having to balance all sorts of equipment while you're trying to push a bush in, so that base is now solid. So a bush, which you wouldn't want to push in dry, and then your fittings for being able to push it in. Now the idea here is to push the outer casing and not the inner part of the bush. You can do it, but it's better to push the sleeve. Okay, so whatever you can find in the workshop to stack up on your press, then do it. And this way what you're doing is pushing the bush outer sleeve flush. Okay, so it's like that. Can't go any further. The bush is now fitted. Easy, huh? Generally, the bush is an interference fit. However, what I found from experience is to make a little bit of a taper and grease both surfaces. This will, of course, be removed as it's being pushed in, but it helps the bush go into place. And just remember, you want to push a direct center to the bush and make sure it goes in square. Now you can see here on this part I've actually made sure that I'm not pushing the center part, and then basically, and this didn't take much effort to be honest with you, is just push it down. Now the press is a 10-ton press and this was more than ample. Look, the bush is now going on the piss. Nope, it's going up straight. There you go, it's gone in without any effort at all, really. To be honest with you, if I strained, you would have seen the jig fall over, which it didn't. So there you go, basically that's a bush fitting. Right, so there's nothing more I can tell you really, because the OEM bushes pushed in are easy to do if you have a press and a bit of equipment. Now you can see the grease has come out and the bushes are firmly in place. Next thing to do with these radius arms is to clean all the crap off them, give them a good coat of Corollas and then paint them with Arkwright's chassis grey. Now the Corollas obviously is for stopping corrosion. The chassis grey is a very good colour. Now the chassis paint here is a 1K and I did explain it in a video before if you follow us along. However, what I'm trying to do is match the colour with the original DAF. I know it's being a little bit fussy. This component here was sprayed with OEM DAF paint. Now you can actually see here that the colour or the shade is exactly the same, so I'm happy to use the Arkwright paint.